farmers, and welcome to another episode of The Harvest Season. My name is Al.
My name is Kevin.
And we are here today to talk about cottagecore games.
No, we're here to talk about anime.
Well, both. Like, we do have the news section, which will probably be most of the episode.
I guess so.
Kevin is, of course, referring to the fact that we are going to talk about the Sakuna of Rice and Ruin anime that came out recently.
Yep.
We tried to do this 2 weeks in a row. 1 week, the last episode hadn't come out in the UK, so I needed to wait for that one. And then last weekend I was sick, so that did not work. But here we are. We're gonna actually do it this time.
Finally, we made it. Yeah. All right, but we'll get to that.
We will get to that.
I have a lot to say. I like Sakuna. Did you know that?
I look forward to discussing it with you. Before that, we have a bunch of game news. But first of all, Kevin, what have you been up to?
All right. Not too much of note. A lot of the same as always. Marvel Snap continues to be good. I'm sure you're playing it still. Are you playing it?
I haven't played much this season yet.
Okay.
Just because I was trying to put some of that time into Pokemon Pocket instead, but I realized I'm not enjoying the battles in that. So,
wait, is that already out?
Okay, so no, it is not.
Are you a New Zealand transplant?
I am in New Zealand just now. That is where I am.
Amazing. You got your whole setup identical. Set up real quick in New Zealand.
I just happen to live in New Zealand. Yeah. I mean, I guess for tax purposes, I'm not actually in New Zealand. Just in case anyone's listening. Yeah, so I don't find the battling fun in that. So I'm probably going to go back to Snap and see if I can get the season done in the next 2 weeks.
I'm sure you can.
I'm sure I probably can. I quite like leaving gaps where I'm not playing, because then you have loads of tasks to do in the season.
Sure. Yeah, you can.
Every 2 days you get another
just
task.
the drip feed. Yeah. So, yeah, that makes sense. Well, okay. Well, you know what? I was talking, but like, how does Pocket play? Like,
yeah, fundamentally, it's not really different from the Pokemon trading card game.
Sure, you attach energies, your Pokemon, so
exactly. The cards are basically the same. Sure, they have some different cards, but fundamentally they're the same thing. The trainer cards are fundamentally exactly the same. The energy is different in so much as you don't have them in your deck. It's like a separate thing, and it randomly gives you an energy each turn based on the energies that your Pokemon have.
That's okay. That's an interesting way to approach it.
I do think I prefer that, and I think if I were to like play the game physically, I would probably prefer to do it this way, right? Like, you take all your trainer cards and shuffle them into a second deck, and you draw one of those each turn. I quite like that, but yeah, it's not fundamentally different, right? Like, if you don't particularly enjoy playing the game, because I guess the reason I enjoy playing Marvel Snap is because, one, it's like super fast, right?
Yeah.
Two, the card effects are really fun.
They are. It's really every card, like, it's a limited pool, but every card also does something different. It's really interesting how they've managed to, keep it dynamic and interesting with every week a new card.
Exactly. Whereas the Pokemon is still just like, you have your Pokemon, it has a move, and the move deals damage. Maybe the move has a status effect. That's it, right? Like, there's nothing fundamentally changed there. And so I don't find that particularly interesting. You're only using one Pokemon to battle each time as you were previously. Like, fundamentally, it's the same. It's just kind of changed up a few things. And I think the reason that they've done it this way is so that they can, like, it's compatible with the physical card game. So if you wanted to play the game this way, you could absolutely play it this way.
Okay, sure. All right, that's cool.
And I understand why they did that. I get that. because if they want to like had it as like a second way of playing the card game in tournaments or whatever, they can do that, and that might be fun. But that's not what I'm looking for. I was looking for something kind of fundamentally different. I think part of the problem is that expectations were different because a lot of people were comparing it to Snap with no real information, right? Just going, oh, it's going to be like Snap because they're trying to make it more mobile, and Snap worked really well. It was a good card game. But like, it's not. Fundamentally, it's not Marvel Snap. It's not in any way. The only, like, I guess you could argue the only thing it kind of takes from Marvel Snap is the idea of quicker battles. That's basic. Like, it's not fundamentally different. So,
yeah, I get it.
And the other issue I think is because it's like there are 160 cards or something like that so far in the game. So to actually be able to get a decent deck that you can take people on with takes a lot of work. Whereas because there's a lot fewer cards in Snap and there are so many different ways to get the cards without paying, you can get a decent deck pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's also a 12 card deck in Snap.
Yeah.
So
it's
that's probably the biggest one.
It's 20 cards in Pocket.
Okay. All right.
Because you don't have the energy, but yeah, it's still. I'm going to keep using it in like opening and collecting, but I think that's what I'm going to like. Unless they fundamentally change something about the battles, I'm not going to put any time into that. And so yeah, I'll do my 5 minutes a day of open the packets, do a wonder pick, check my collection, and then close the app because I like collecting things. You know.
There you go. Get your dopamine hit.
Exactly, and hopefully spend no money on it. So yeah, I'll get back into Snap this week probably. Trying as much as possible and see if
it is still good. Season's been fine.
Yeah, I'm excited. I might try and go back to a destroy deck and try and add in some of the new symbiotes, or see if they could integrate into any of my other decks. They look quite fun. They've been rolling them out slowly, haven't they? I think they've been doing one a week of those cards.
Yeah. There's that's what they do standard. One a week, and we've got like 2 or 3 left. The one I'm excited for, I think, is next week. Maybe we get, I don't know, but the one I want's not out yet. But they've been fine. Nothing earth shattering. Nothing disrupting the game. I think
it
it's
keeps
in a good
the good
place.
decks being good, and it doesn't. Doesn't make anything else better.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
they nerfed White Widow though. I'm sad.
We'll see if I can get up to Infinite again, and if I do it with the same deck or a different deck. Or
yeah, well, hey, you're gonna start off at 70, right? So the fight's gonna be easier on you. There you go. All right.
I know my deal. The moment I hit Infinite, I was like, oh, right, how does it decide what I go down to? It's like, because my worry was I don't want to like battle and then drop out of Infinite, but you don't do that. Once you're in Infinite, that's it.
Yeah, nope, you're good, which really is so nice. Huge sigh of relief. But yeah, Snap aside, a lot of the usual Zenless Zone Zero, I've talked about that. So there's an arcade in Zenless Zone Zero where you can play mini games or side games because some of them are not so mini. I've been spending a lot of time in what they call Bizarre Brigade. That's the name of the mini game. It's their little version of Bullet Heaven Games, Vampire Survivor type game. And so you're just going through waves of enemies, buying upgrades and partners and stuff like that. It's just addictive. And it's no danger of spending any money. It's totally separate from the rest of the game. But other than that, I've picked up Sonic Frontiers again. It is good. It's still good. I like it. I don't know what else to say. It's open world Sonic. It works somehow.
I still never got into it. I played it for a couple of hours and was just, I don't know what it was. It's just like
fine.
I think it's just it's the same as every 3D Sonic to me. There's something that doesn't really jive with me in 3D Sonic.
Yeah, that's fair.
Except the 3D levels and generations, they worked.
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, hey, that's coming again, so.
Yeah, well, exactly. Soon,
get
2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, that's I'm so excited for that. But yeah, I think. Oh, and uh, I've been playing the Luigi Mansion 2 on my 3DS because hey, I'm on a Mario Party podcast and it's October, so guess what? That's our spooky game of
We just
the
got a
year.
spoiler as to which one
Uh,
of you is playing which game then.
but yeah, there you go. What about you? What's been going on?
I have been playing Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and it is super fun.
Oh yeah, it looks so fun. So many dank memes and just all of games that give you just tools to do nonsense. I
Yeah.
love it so much.
I do. There's a couple of things I'm not a huge fan about it. In so much as like it has a bunch of okay, it has two. It has two, as far as I know. I don't think there's going to be any more based on what's happened in the story. But I've encountered two stealth levels, and I do not like stealth levels. I don't like them at all. I've never liked them. I don't like them in Spider-Man. I don't like them
Mm-hmm.
in this game. I don't like them in any game. They're just generally not fun because, well, first of all, it's a different way of playing than the rest of the game, and suddenly they're like, oh, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you got to do this thing that you haven't bothered doing the rest of the time. Completely switch up how you think about the game. And I also don't
Right.
like how they go, like, the stealth is like, oh, you just throw you back to the beginning of the level, and that's that. I don't like that because it's just then you're just
Yeah.
repeating the thing that you keep failing at. Which, yeah, okay, sounds just like any game with levels, but it just there's something about it that's really you get right to the end of a stealth level and you muck up one thing and you're back to the beginning. I don't know
Yeah.
why that annoys me more than say like a Mario platformer, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't know, but it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, that's that's odd that they put it because I don't know.
it
It
makes
doesn't.
sense in the story, is what I would say,
Okay, sure.
but I don't want to spoil.
Um, the question I have is, do you still have tools, right? Because
You do,
there are some stealth levels where
yep.
or gameplay where it's just totally dodge all the lasers and spotlights or whatever, right? Stay invisible. And then some like Spider-Man where you still have your tools and you can use them when you're stealthing or whatever, right? You can take out foes before you get detected.
Well, I think Spider-Man's a bad example of that. Spider-Man's a bad example of that because
Okay.
most of the stealth levels in the newer Spider-Mans, you're actually playing as Mary Jane, not as Spider-Man.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about Mary Jane. I was thinking about like when you
I
have
know
a
the ones you
room
mean.
of
I think
encounters.
there are some stuff, and
Yes.
actually those are fun. Yeah, because that's more of
Yes.
like a puzzle. Whereas
Yeah. Yeah.
the Mary Jane levels are just like
Yeah.
hide behind this
Just
thing, wait
yeah,
for them to
avoid the
not look at
spotlights.
you. It's just
Yep.
not fun. They tried
Well,
to make it
well,
more fun in Spider-Man 2 because they gave her a taser,
uh-huh.
which did improve it, but was still not. I just still didn't enjoy it
Sure.
because you've
Sure.
got this
That
game about
okay.
I'm spinning around the world, I'm like quit playing whatever, and then suddenly I'm just a person.
But don't you want to
Not
play
fun.
Mary Jane?
Yeah, yeah. No one's buying the Mary
But
Jane game. Let's be honest, right?
uh,
Um,
oh my gosh. But yeah, but no, that's exactly my point. Those like that's how far the spectrum goes, right? Like there's the good stealth and the bad stealth.
so what I
But
would
anyway,
say is
so
you do have all those tools, so you can
mm-hmm.
you can do everything that you could, but I found that when I was trying to do stuff like that, clever stuff like that, to like they would somehow see me in the weirdest places, and I'd lose the level, and actually it was easier
Ah,
just to hide, which
mm,
is not great, really, but yeah, I don't.
they can't see you at the top of a tower of beds.
Exactly. I will say the one good thing about these compared to other stealth levels is if you get seen, they chase after you. But if they don't catch you, you don't get to actually come
Ah,
back the start.
oh, that's
So
always nice. Not an auto fail. That's great.
yeah, so I've seen people like speed running them with like throwing tables behind them to block the people running after them, and that I think is a good thing. But I didn't see that until after I'd done them. I didn't consider speed running it. But yeah, I did try like, oh, I'm gonna build beds over this area so I can, but they still saw me and I'm like, oh, it's not. So anyway, so been playing that. I've also played a bit of Balatro now that it's on mobile.
Oh, mobile. I gotta get it. I will.
This game,
Um,
I get why everybody likes it, and I don't dislike it, is what I will say.
okay.
I don't know how much I want to talk about this because people are just going to mock me for buying a roguelite again.
I mean, that's the hope
Actually,
on
no,
this
this isn't
show,
even
I
a
think.
roguelite. This is a roguelike. Everything resets between runs in there. There's nothing
Yeah,
recursive.
oh yeah.
Um, I knew it was a roguelike going in. I did. But I somehow thought the roguelike part of it was going to be different than it was. I think that's all I'm going to say. It doesn't mean I'm
Okay,
not going to
well,
continue playing it until I beat it. I might. Like, it's the actual gameplay of it is fun enough that it might override that,
yeah.
but we'll see.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. I'll update you when I get it too. Because
Cool.
I know when I get it, it's over for me. Goodbye, world. Galatro only.
I like how it's nice and cheap. It's like 10 quid.
That is great.
All right. Well, that's what we've been up to. Let's talk about some game news. First up, surprise, surprise, the Harvest Moon Winds of Anthos Great Outdoors update has been delayed again.
Shocker.
I wasn't on last week's episode when you talked about this, but my first thought when I saw this news was they're delaying it by a week. A week is a very short amount of time to be delaying it.
It is.
That seems weird and suspicious, and I wouldn't be surprised if it get delayed again. It got delayed
I didn't think
again.
about that, but you're super right. Like, what is it a week difference gonna make in game dev? I actually don't know what a week would do,
The
but
one thing I would think is they'd realized one game breaking bug, and they knew the fix to it, so they could do it. And the week was just to like get it through their testing
sure.
and their processes to get it actually into the stores. But that didn't work.
Sure. Yeah.
So either that's wrong and they were just completely overly optimistic about what they were doing, right? Like, who 2 weeks away from release, who goes, we're not going to manage to release. Sorry, 1 week away. Yeah, no, it was 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I think they gave notice of it. 2 weeks before release goes, we're not going to be able to get this done in time, but I know we'll get it fine in an extra week. That's a really weird decision to make, right? Which they've clearly decided because they haven't put a new date on it. They've just said it's delayed. So, yeah.
They said 1 week later, but not which week, huh?
No. So, yeah, if you're waiting for that update, I'm very sorry.
Wait longer.
Yeah. And I guess we'll see when it eventually comes out. Speaking of delays, because we are still in the season of delays, because it is October, Wonderstop have delayed. They are going to be releasing next year. This is the game that's from the creators of Stanley Parable.
Okay. Hold on, I'm looking.
It's
Let me
about
see.
making tea. This one. This is a tea making.
That that is such a weird sell, right? It's a tea game, but it's the Stanley Parable guy. So
No,
unless
I
it's gonna
think
get
that's honestly. I think that like makes me more interested. So I like the tea making aspect, right? Because I like the idea of a more focused game that's also a farming game, also a cottagecore type game.
yeah.
That's more
No,
focused.
I no. I mean,
And it's
like
not.
the tea game.
I don't necessarily expect it to be like the Stanley Parable. I think it's more just like the Stanley Parable people understand games.
Okay, sure. Yeah, all right. When you put it like that, yeah, I that makes sense, right? But just when you hear Stanley Parable, a lot of people was thinking, oh, is there going to be some weird meta narrative component to it? How is this going to break
Yeah.
the fourth wall?
I understand.
But
Yeah,
like,
I don't think it's going to be that. I think the
yeah,
Stanley
no.
Parable was
Looking at
them
the
just
trailer,
breaking down games and showing, because that's all it is,
yeah,
right? It's just it's basically a massive comedy essay about games,
yeah,
interactive comedy
yeah,
essay, right? Like it does a
yeah,
thing that no other medium could do, right? Like you can't break down films in the same way that you consume films. You can't break down reading a book
well,
in reading a book. You would that has
I
to
don't
be the
know.
creation of it.
I saw that mass unbearable weight of massive talent.
I mean, that was excellent. But that's still
And
about
that
the
one,
creation of something, not
they
about the
lit.
consuming of it. Whereas the whole point of the
Oh
Stanley
yeah. Oh,
Parable,
true, true.
if you don't have the user input, it doesn't mean
Yeah,
anything. It's pointless. It's
yeah,
useless.
that's true.
Whereas a film, even if nobody watches it, it still has its value.
Sure,
Like its narrative is the same from beginning to end, no matter who watches it. Whereas with games,
that's
that's
true.
not how it works, and that's what I really like about the Stanley Parable.
Yeah, okay, but yeah, I mean, I look at the trailer and it looks like a well-made, competent P game or whatever. Just yeah, like I don't know, it takes a second to wrap my head. Like that's why they'd be a good fit for it. But yeah, all right.
I understand that,
I'm
but
down for
we'll
it.
see what happens.
Do we have an ETA now?
Early
On
2025 is all they've
okay,
said.
so question marks basically.
So May of next year. That's what I'm saying.
So
We'll
look
see if I'm
forward to
right.
the next delay announcement in February 2025.
Speaking of delays, we also have Amber Isle. I'm sorry, Kevin. The Switch version is delayed.
No. Do we have a date?
We have a date of 21st of October. No, not October.
You know
November.
what?
November. Sorry.
I can live with that. That's still this
So
year. I can live with
slightly over
that.
a month. Slightly over a month. It's
I
interesting
wait.
because
No, now. Wow.
yeah. So
I didn't
the Steam
realize that.
version's out now. Came out a couple days ago as we're recording. The interesting thing about this is it's slightly over a month delay to this, but they say it's console specific performance issues. That is, I feel similarly to this, like I feel about the delay to the Winds of Anthos DLC. That's a very specific date for performance issues.
Mm.
Like
Well,
performance
I think.
issues
Mhm,
can mean so many different things and can come from so many different places that
true.
there's not going to be
Mhm.
like one easy fix. And it's not like
So.
they're going to spend a month working on it, right? Because
Mhm.
they have to get it into the store. And we all know Nintendo are slow at getting these things through their store. So,
Yeah.
like, maybe they have 2 weeks extra to work on it.
Yeah,
Maybe.
well, I'm assuming based off the way they phrased it, it's not a game-breaking thing, right? It just probably runs a little poorly on the Switch, which, it's not uncommon. So, I they probably set themselves a date. We want it out by this for the holidays or whatever, and so let's just do what we can in this time. That would be my guess.
I yeah, I don't. Look, I'll be surprised if people still aren't disappointed by the performance of this when it comes out, right? And I
Well,
guess the thing is like, I guess I'm confused as to why they would be unhappy with it now, but they'll be happy with it in a month.
hmm,
Like that just
that.
feels unrealistic to
Yeah.
me.
All right. You know what? That's a good point. I don't know. That's a good point.
But we'll see. We'll see. Because Kevin's going to buy it in day one, obviously.
Oh gosh, I'm over here agonizing if we're gonna do an episode. Am I gonna have to get it on Steam? I don't know, but boy, it's gonna be day one.
Get it for what you want to play it on. The episode can wait. Next, we have Everhome. Is it home or is it home? Home.
I think it's either way. It's basically the same thing, is what I think.
Yeah, I think it's home because I think it's kind of like a pun.
Yeah,
Like it sounds like
yeah,
home, HOME,
yep. I think so. Yes.
but also a home, HOLM, home. Sorry, I clicked the pronunciation guide on Google and it said it in an English accent. So of course I parroted it in an English accent. Home or home, as apparently that said, also means an islet, especially in a river or near a mainland. So is this based on an island? I haven't seen anything. So maybe it's not a pun. Maybe I'm overthinking it.
I don't know. It probably is. I'm
Anyway, I should
guessing it
probably say
is.
what the news is, shouldn't I? Because I haven't actually said that. They've announced the release date is the 11th of November this year. So there you go. If you've been looking forward to that game.
It's a very pretty looking game. I isometric. I don't feel like that's one we see very often in our or at least not in a 2D pixel one. Like so maybe a 3D one, but
Yeah, I think you're
I don't
right.
know.
I think you're right.
It looks, it just visually looks polished. Um, I think maybe there's a narrative aspect that looks interesting that might set it apart. But
Yep.
yeah, it has caught my attention. I'll say that.
I'm intrigued as to how the farming will feel when you're doing it because of that isometric view. I think it might be harder to hit the exact square you want.
That's true, but like I saw there's a moment in the trailer when you harvest pumpkins and like they're all harvested at once. So I wonder if they've designed around that to make it
Possibly.
easier
Possibly.
to do
However,
it.
you might notice the watering, it did do it on a square by square basis.
Mm,
And actually, I had a look.
yeah.
So when she does the pumpkins, it's not all at once. It's like 6 of them at once, and then the other 3.
Okay.
So
Uh,
yeah, it could just be that these things are done on a much more lackadaisical way, shall we
hmm
say, right? Like, oh, you kind of
Right.
vaguely hit it, we'll just count it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we'll see. That's my only concern about this is how that will feel, but we will see because it's coming out soon. There is a demo, so I could play it if I cared. Find out. Next, we have Steam World Build. Their final seasonal update is coming out, or is out now. Is out now, and this is the Steam Fright update. So obviously Halloween based. There's lots of glowing things, glowing green
As
lights.
is, as one does on Halloween.
Yeah, the train is like radioactive looking.
As trains do in the real world during Halloween.
Yeah, it looks like if you enjoy this game, that will be a fun update.
It does look like it's doing the spooky theme well. I'll say that. It looks very Halloweeny.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next, we have another update for Disney Dreamlight Valley. They are just pumping these updates out. This is the Jungle Getaway update. So, interestingly, one of the updates, one of the major updates in this, is that you can go to the Lion King realm during the day. So
Wait, you couldn't
so well
already? Okay.
so previously, I think the deal was that it was just always night when you went to the Lion King realm. So it wasn't that you couldn't go
Yeah.
there during the day. It's just when you went, it was night.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Just I'm puzzled by that decision.
Look, I suspect it would have made sense narratively if you played it, but I haven't done that bit, so I
I
wouldn't know for
guess.
sure. It's also really funny how like this is like the top voted thing is like, hey, daytime.
Also, excuse me, but The Lion King takes place in Savannah, which is not a jungle.
Oh no. They also Timon and Pumbaa are added. So there you go.
Wait, they weren't in our. Oh my gosh!
They weren't, so
Oh
they
my
don't add every
goodness!
single character that's in every single
I
film when they add the
yeah,
realms.
but
So
you know what? You know what? They should have been in there before Simba. I don't care.
a fair argument. Also, some new backpacks. There you go.
All right, I like Lion King, so you know what? I'll give them props for that.
The final piece of standard news is an interesting one from Paleo Pines. I don't know what to talk. I don't know if we want to talk much about this, but I felt like it was something to mention. They've basically posted on social media saying that they're struggling to find someone to help the future of Paleo Pines. Basically, they're looking for a production partner. So I think this is like, I think it's basically someone to give them money. Um, I think they're struggling. They're not managing to keep funding the game to get ad
Yeah,
updates. Um,
well, you know what? That's hard. To keep a game going, right?
yeah,
Like honestly, if I were the Paleo Pines dev, like they've done the drip feed model of here's an update here and there, whatever. I would have just saved for one or two and called it a day. Like I think Paleo Pines, the base level was already pretty solid as a package.
yeah.
Um,
I agree, and
So
it's they've said that they're working on other games, so it's not like
oh,
they're only
okay.
working on this. So yeah, it does feel like not every game needs to constantly have updates, and so maybe that's it for Paleo Pines. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm interested. Like, or like this might be like I don't know all the obviously ins and outs of this, but would a sequel at this point be better? I don't know. I don't know if they could get more
Maybe.
groundswell for that
Yeah, maybe.
because
I'm
a
sure they're
new
thinking of all
game
these things through, right?
sometimes, yeah. But regardless, it's a good game. Uh, I do wish to see more of it. They don't have all my dinosaurs that I want in there yet, anyway. So, um, number one reason to keep going.
Is it even possible to have all the dinosaurs?
No, but they can try.
Fair enough. We also have one new game to talk about. This is a very interesting one. So this game is called Hawthorne, and I'll just read their blurb. Former developers from Bethesda, BioWare, and Naughty Dog bring you a sandbox RPG realm of anthropomorphic animals and fairy creatures. Play co-op or solo as you build a village of memorable NPCs, farm, craft, explore, and celebrate the seasons in an ever-changing world bigger than you.
Okay, I'm. I have a lot of feelings here because so this is Everdell or not, I'm sorry. Um, what's the book series? Redwall. Redwall. That's not Everdell's a board game. It's the only thing. But Redwall, the game, basically, you're playing as mice and otters and little birds and you're farming and it's crafting and stuff. It and okay on that pitch alone, I think sounds incredible. Especially the fact that they are going with actual size, so the pumpkins are that you're farming are bigger than you, right?
Yep.
Uh, so that's I love a lot of this. I mean, these are anthropomorphic critters, and they're talking, and so on and so forth. There's birds with wizard hats or witch hats, whatever. Um, so it's great. The only thing is, right, because of that, I guess that Bethesda background and Naughty Dog and BioWare, I guess actually, it's realistic looking, right? Like Skyrim-ish. Which is, I don't know, when you describe a game like that to me, I'd expect something cutesy and stylistic or whatever.
It's funny because
And
it's like a combination of weirdness with that, right? Because yeah, it's
yeah,
realistic looking. So you got this realistic looking mouse next to a realistic looking pumpkin, but he's standing on his hind legs holding an axe cutting down some corn. So it's
yep,
like realistic,
yep.
but also really weird.
And guess what? When you're dragging that pumpkin or that branch that's bigger than you, it looks kind of goofy because it's kind of floating behind you, but your arms are kind of holding it. Um, I don't know. It's such like that's the weirdest thing, right? Like it doesn't look bad, but it's just such a unexpected art direction to go with for this
Yeah.
kind of game. Right? And like it's very grounded, right? It's not like I mean their colors are nice, but they're not like bright or anything like that. Just very nice outdoor setting. Um, but I'm not like I said, I don't think it's bad. Just unexpected, and I'm still very enthusiastic about the premise. There's a lot of great things in here. You're dancing with an otter on a table while he's drinking meat or something. You can swim as an otter. You can fly on birds. Um, I like a lot about it.
Yeah. Be interesting to
There's
see
a
what comes,
weasel with a top hat. I think that's a weasel. It's Mayor Weaselton.
obviously.
Yeah, I like Redwall and little rodent people societies. It's cute. I will probably play this. Is it Steam only right now? Do we know? And there's anything about uh,
That's a good question. I think it'll say at the end of the trailer. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything about consoles.
well, okay, well, I'll have to see. Nothing else, right? Those names, there's probably a lot of good talent, right? And hopefully not a lot of bad executive decisions. So hopefully this game will come out great. Yeah. Oh, I think it might be on Xbox. I don't know. I see it on the Xbox Reddit. But I digress. Yeah, I'm definitely keeping my eye out for it because I love the idea of playing as little red wall characters.
Yeah, definitely. Alrighty, so that's all the news. We're now going to talk about Sakuna of
Anime.
Rice and Ruin, the anime. So, just to give a bit of background behind this, this is based on a game, Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. Obviously, it was
Get
a
get ready.
rice.
If you thought I was a weeaboo before, get ready. I want to talk about Japanese animation.
It is
um,
a realistic rice farming game,
yes.
based
So,
on with a story, a very
mhm.
interesting story. Which I'll need you to confirm to me how much of the story in the anime is the same as in the game, because as
I'd
mentioned
say
in the episode.
90%, 90
Okay,
to 95%. It is.
obviously I know the beginning and stuff like that, but as I mentioned in
Yeah,
the actual episode we did with the game, I didn't enjoy the game, so I didn't get very
yeah.
far through it.
Okay. I, on the other hand, yeah, we did that good while ago. Sakuna's been out for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did beat the game. Apparently not all the game though, because there was some stuff I didn't know that is from the anime because apparently that was in side quests I didn't end up doing or they didn't trigger for me or whatnot. But
Yeah.
I'll get to that. But okay. So the elevator
Three
pitch.
years ago. Just 3 years ago is when
Oh,
we did that
okay. Well,
episode.
there you go. Oh man, I'm so oh. First of all, let me just say, I adored Sakuna, the video game. I know it got a novel like sequel. It got, I think, a manga adaptation. I'm so happy it got an anime adaptation because it was indeed perfect for one. Um, and and I mean overall, like, I think they knocked it out of the park. It's a great anime in my opinion. What's your overall opinion on it now?
Yeah, I think it's super fun. It's the characters all feel very real. I know that they're all pretty much based on the characters in the game, so obviously that helps. But
Mm-hmm. Yep.
the animation looks great. It the pacing of the story felt pretty good, pretty
Yeah.
standard, but pretty good.
I have one or two quips or yeah, qualms with it. Excuse me, qualms with it. But in general, yeah, no, it's pretty solid how they paced it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I,
Uh,
I I really enjoyed it. I thought it was super
all
fun.
right, there you go. All right.
I don't
Until
know what
next
else
week,
to say
guys.
about it overall.
All right. Okay. So here's the elevator pitch. For both, again, the plot
Oh wait, before
is
you do,
pretty.
is this where we go? Spoiler alert. We're probably going to talk about spoilers. We're probably going to talk about the
Okay.
actual story.
Yeah, it is a 13 episode anime. It's not terribly long, right? You can knock it out pretty quick. Um, and the game's been out for 3 years, so yeah, I'm not gonna hold back on spoilers because it's uh I like I, there's nothing I don't think there's anything super, one or two things, but yeah, here's your warning. We're gonna talk about the whole game. Um, I'm gonna try to go broad and the narrow or whatever, but yeah, I'm saying here everything is fair game. Um, Considering that again the plot is very similar to the game, so that's been out and well established. All right, so the elevator pitch. Okay, so Sakuna is the daughter of a war god and a harvest goddess. At the start, so she has inherited powers and such from both. And at the start of the series, she is living in what is referred to as the capital, where various deities and such live in what's called the lofty realm, the upper realm, where those sorts of beings live. And she is a stubborn, spoiled, lazy brat um, who gets by because of her parents, basically, the status she got from them. Um, and so, one day, a bridge called was it the Bridge of Heaven? I think it is. Um, Appears, and a group of humans appear on said bridge, wandering from what's referred to as the lower realm, the world of humans, and they are ending up crossing over to the capital. Sakuna goes out to try to deal with it, but she ends up, and so the humans are being chased by a bandit named Ishimaru. She kicks Ishimaru off the bridge, quite literally kicks him off the bridge. Um, and the humans get by and cause a little bit of chaos in the capital. Because of this, Sakuna is punished and sent to Hinaway Island, or the Isle of Demons, where her parents once lived, and she is sent there to fend for herself and to figure out what's going on, as there have been reports of demons coming from the island. Um, and so that's setting. That's how the stage is set. So Sakuna has to learn how to cultivate rice like her mom did, and get along with the band of humans who have also been sent to the Isle of Demons, as they try to figure everything out and eventually figure out the demon problem. Okay. Um, so with that, I guess let's see here. So I guess I'll just try to go in an opposite order, unless you have other ideas, Al. Or do you have any comments overall on the overall setup or anything?
Eh, I guess if we're talking about just like the setup of the story as a whole, it's a fun concept. Obviously, we experienced we both experienced this part in the game, um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I cared more about the story at this point, right? Because part of the problem, and this is a me problem, I understand that. You
Mm-hmm.
don't need to come at me and go, you should care more about the story in games. But generally,
Mm-hmm.
I don't, right? I'm playing
Okay.
games because I enjoy the gameplay. I'm not playing games necessarily for the story. If the story grabs me, that's just a bonus. But the problem is,
Okay.
especially at the beginning of games, I don't want a lot of story before I start playing, right? I'm like, no, just give me the
Uh,
game. I want to see how
sure.
this
Sure.
plays before I invest lots of time into it. Give me the
Okay.
game. Don't give me the backstory. So
Yeah, and that's fair. That's fair. I think there's a lot of people like that, who want the gameplay before anything else, and that's very fair, being the interactive medium it is. Um, and Sakuna in particular, right? Like, the gameplay of the video game is very, it can be tough to to get her, because it asks a lot of you, right? There is both the rice farming simulation game, and there's
yeah,
also platforming and combat. True to her nature as half harvest goddess, half war goddess, the game leans into both aspects of that. So it's asking a lot and might not appeal. In fact, I would say it's hard to appeal to everyone because those are two very different things, I think. Um, and in the game, a lot of the story is not so front loaded. You don't get into a lot of the meatier stuff until past the halfway point, I would say. And of course, that's, the game's given to you in cutscenes and whatnot, dialogue, but the majority of it you're spending farming and forming and whatnot. So it might be hard for a lot of people to get through the whole story, but I'm glad that's a big reason why I'm glad this exists, because now we can all enjoy the story, which I think is pretty quality overall. Maybe a little straightforward, but overall really nice. Well done. And that's in large part because of the characters. So, let's talk about them a little bit. We mentioned Sakuna. Um, uh, and she's the star of the show by far. She's pretty comedic in the anime, like she is in the game, right? Because she's so cartoonishly stubborn and
very
spoiled,
bratty.
very ready. Um, she is always with her faithful companion slash steward, I guess. I don't know, whatever, servant. His name is Tama. He's a little floating dog. Um, He's a guy, kind of got old man voice and energy. He's wise and tries to keep her in line, but she's still a handful, right? Um, Tama is. Well, I'll get to Tama. Tama's one of my favorite characters in the show by
Okay.
far. Um, and then the human she's now living with, there is Paimon, a samurai who stuck to the samurai because he doesn't like to fight. So he became a bandit, but he wasn't very good at that either. He's very clumsy. Um, In fact, he kind of messes up everything he does, which is why Sakuna ends up having to do most of the farming. But he is at least rather knowledgeable about farming, which is, again, the role he plays in the game. He's kind of your resource for any farming tips or knowledge that you need. And he can help out around the farm in the game. So, that's, I think they captured that to a T. Um, there is Mirta. She is a missionary from, I forget what country. the Sakuna game in anime happened in Yamato, which is not Japan, and she's from not Germany, basically. Um, and yeah, so she's a missionary originally, to to teach folks about her beliefs and whatnot, and to learn about other countries as well. Um, she's sweet, she's kind, she makes medicine, she cooks. Cooking is the big thing for her in the game.
Just speaking of her, because I really
Yeah.
like there's a bit where Sakuna says, "Are you going to teach the kids about me now?" And she says, "No." Like she does it in a really nice way, but it's just really funny. It's just like, no, I may have met
Yeah.
a meta god now, but no, I'm not going to
Yeah.
teach them about you. I'm going to continue doing what I.
Oh. Oh yeah. Oh, that's good stuff. So we have those two. Then we have the kids. There's Kinta. He's kind of a street kid sort of thing going on, right? He's smart. He's sassy. He's very streetwise. Blunt and to the point. He's good at crafting some stuff and becomes eventually a blacksmith, making tools for Sakuna, just like he does in the game. Likewise, we have Yui, a small and sweet girl, very shy, very quiet, follows Kinta around a lot, and she also crafts. Well, she's more like looming and creating fabrics and equipment of that sort, garments for Sakuna, which again she does in the game. And then we have good old Kaimaru, the big baby. He's like, yeah, he's basically a baby who walks around and he can't talk. Um, he can't communicate with animals though. And that's how he helps out. He's the one who brings a lot of animals to the farm to help out, like ducks and the cow, and the kappa. Um, but yeah, that's the main crew. And obviously the first couple of episodes are focused on them, introducing them and uh, see how they try to get along on their new island with nothing at all, right? Like there's a kind of broken down few buildings where Sakuna's parents live, but they have to start working together to kind of fix it up. And of course, they have to plant the rice and whatnot to get it growing. So yeah, that I think like it's was I'd say the first 4 episodes or so. Do you have any favorites out of that main crew, Al?
Okay, so I have a non-favorite. I I hate the baby.
Yay, Kaimaru.
I can't, I don't, I know it's ridiculous and kind of meant to be ridiculous, but like,
Yes.
I just, it's just annoying.
Yeah, I mean, like that's fair, right? Like the thing, like Kaimaru himself isn't doing much. He's just kind of making baby sounds or whatever, right? But it's the backstory that I think makes him interesting. And it's all okay. Crazy thing about one of the craziest things in the anime is how they did his backstory because you don't learn about his whole story until like the last 25% or so in the game. And in this one, they just bring it out point blank in episode 2. Um, so as I mentioned earlier, there's a bandit Ishimaru who was chasing them originally, and he was out to kill them basically because he killed Kaimaru's father in front of him, who was a bandit leader, and uh, and then Taliman grabbed the kids and Mirta and just ran away from the bandits with Ishimaru chasing them. Right, so like. Obviously, that was a super traumatic event for Kaimaru, and that's supposedly the reason he can't really talk, like affected his development or whatever, right? And I think that bit is pretty cool or interesting at least, right? Um
Yeah.
but in the day-to-day action or whatever, like yeah, he's not doing much. He's just making baby sounds. So I don't blame you for that. Yeah, I can get what you're coming from. It's just he's not actually talking, right? He's not adding that much to the dialogue or whatever. Um
Yeah. I also just think, like, realistically, it doesn't make any sense. Like, how would he get there on his own?
Well, I mean, it Tauemon took him. Like
Oh, did he?
yes, yeah, yeah, Ishimaru was basically gonna kill. I think the kids were like captives of the bandits or something like that, and Tauemon just kind of ran away with them.
Right.
Which is why they were ended up running away on the bridge, and that's kickstarted that whole thing. So that's basically how it happened. He just kind of took them. Um, Let's see here. So, I mean, I like the cast overall, the main cast. Let's talk about the one that surprised me, Yui, because I didn't do the side quest that gave me her whole backstory. Like the fact that she's actually a crane. That surprised me.
That was super weird, right?
Yep.
So, like, it starts out a little bit weird because you're like, oh, this character that like has been doing stuff with us and blah 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 is a crane, and you're like, okay, that's a bit weird. Oh, but it turns out like one of the other characters really likes her, and now he's like, oh no, you're a crane. That's a shame, but it's okay because I still like you, and I'm gonna kind of show you that I'm romantically interested in you,
Wasn't it
person
the
who.
other way around? Like, so, okay, so to give a little more backstory, right? She was first of all, she's representative of a Japanese folklore myth, which is about like a crane wife. Very similar story where like a guy saves a crane and she becomes a human and becomes his wife. Um, but he can never see her. I can't remember what it was, doing something. And actually might have been looming, just like Yui. Um, and then one day his curiosity gets the better of him. He checks on his wife. His wife's actually a crane, and then she ends up just leaving and flying away. Likewise, here Yui had to do her work in secret because she turned into a crane, I think, whenever it was. And so, if anyone saw her, she'd just stay in the crane form and fly away, which is the story of episode 4, basically. It turns out that Kinta used to live in a monastery, and one day he just freed the crane, or a crane that was in a trap. Um, and that crane was grateful and eventually became Yui. Through the magic of aliens. Literally, for some reason, there were giant UFOs that appeared to her and turned her into a crane. Um, that was the canon reason. That was probably one of the most out there aspects of the show. And I miss again. This was all a side quest I missed in the game, so it all really threw me for a loop. Um, but uh, but yeah, and so because she became a girl, she's followed Kinta around. Like I don't know, was he romantically interested in her? Because she definitely, she definitely
I
was
can't I
interested
can't
in him.
I can't remember how it starts, but they both are by the end of that
Okay, yeah, by the end of it,
small
sure,
arc.
sure.
Wait, but
But
that's weird, right?
I don't think he realizes it's a crane though.
No, he
She's a
does,
crane
because
though.
no, because he's there. He's part of the reason that she comes back to being a human, because she turns into a crane, and then they're
Yeah,
like, oh, yeah, it turns out she's a crane, and
I don't
like,
think.
but then they're like, oh, they basically plead for her to become a human again, and they're all part of that discussion. He's there. He knows she's a crane.
Does she? Because, gosh, I'm trying to. Maybe I'm misremembering. Because I thought, like, because there's this lake where they find Yui. Sakuna takes Kinta, and they go to the lake. And that's where the aliens show up, the visitors as they're called, and he can't see them. I remember that part. He can't see
He
or
can't.
hear them.
No, but he still knows, and he begs for her to be able to be a human again.
Hmm. Gosh darn. Well, I'd have to go back and rewatch that, but that is kind of weird. Hey, I mean, like she's a human girl at that point, so I guess it's fine. I don't know. um, yeah, I mean, it is weird, but he's also known her for a long time before she was a crane, right? Like,
Yes, but he's still like, this is the thing, right? I understand all of that, and if she wasn't a crane, it would be a lovely story. It's all very nice, but by the time that he admits that he actually likes her, because like he does the whole like being mean to her, blah 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 blah. So, oh, it turns
yeah,
out he actually likes her, sort of thing, right? Great, fine, whatever, standard cliche, love it. Um, he knows she's a crane by this point.
eh,
That's
but I mean,
weird. That is weird. And
it's also a
it's
weird.
not like she was turned into a crane. No, she was a crane who was turned into a human. Like he wants to be in a relationship with a crane and a human body.
I guess if you, yeah, I guess.
Yes, if you want to make it weird, you
Like,
can make it weird. No, it's just weird, right? I'm not making it
okay,
weird. This
no,
is weird.
I really feel like he didn't. get it because
Man, you're gonna make me rewatch this episode. Which episode was?
you know what? Okay, let's just keep talking. I'm gonna put it on and just see what's going on. Okay, we'll get back to the crane topic in a bit. Yeah, I'd say the first
Fascinating.
5 episodes or so, they're all pretty much focused on this stuff, right? Like them living together, figuring out how to harvest, and so on and so forth. Um, Getting to know the characters and all that good stuff. Um, but yeah, one thing I do wish we could have seen is maybe a little more of the Sakuna combat stuff. Because we only get pieces and glimpses of that for most of the first half, I'd say, of the anime. Um, like I kind of get it. The pacing is different. Right? Like in an anime, they have to focus on the story, but they were also really good at some of the later action sequences and fights, especially the final fight, right? Um, like they kind of skipped the first they show all the bosses in the game do show up, but like one or two of them are just kind of barely skipped.
Yeah.
Um,
They realistically only have like one big battle, and that's at the end.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Which, by the way, I think in terms of like anime battles, it's a pretty good one. I quite liked it.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was excellent. I mean, overall the animation was really is high quality and they definitely knocked it out of the park in the battle sequences. Um so so yeah, that's the main cast. I'm trying to think. I think that covers their stories roughly. Um let's so with that, I guess we can get to some of these secondary characters, namely uh Kokoroa, the an invention goddess who's Sakuna's best friend. So I really like Kokoroa. And it's kind of a shame she has a betrayal arc because there's a whole episode about that where so the thing is she was Sakuna's best friend, but she couldn't even live up to Sakuna because Sakuna again had the status of her parents and whatnot. It was and I don't know, for me it was really sad to see Kokoroa, she was really good at inventing stuff, but she still didn't get noticed by the higher ups and whatnot. So she
Yeah.
felt really bitter about that, right? And eventually it manifested into her betraying Sakuna. After Sakuna starts growing rice and selling it to the capital, she starts basically tainting it or corrupting it or whatever, right? And so Sakuna goes to investigate what's going on with the rice and finds out it's her best friend Kokoroa who's doing it. That was actually one of my favorite fights where Tokoro actually sends some of her little robots that she builds to attack Sakuna. Those are all in the game, like all three of them that showed up in that episode. Um, Sakuna beats them, but Kokoro confesses and they end up reconciling. Like I and I think she definitely redeems herself both in the game and the anime because she is very helpful later on. Right, she creates all sorts of stuff to help them out. She goes to live on the island after that incident as sort of punishment for her deception and whatnot. Um, but yeah, I really I like her design. I like the giant gears flying behind her. Um, any particular thoughts on that whole little arc? Al?
No, I think it was fun. I guess like most of the story in this, none of it is particularly surprising. It's kind of
Yeah,
pretty predictable.
yeah,
If
it
you
certainly
know kind
is.
of like tropes and standard storytelling things, but that doesn't make it not fun to watch. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, yeah, no, that's fair. And so after the Kokoroa stuff, I think like the last third or so of the episode starts getting into the final conflict with because Ishimaru shows up. Turns out he ended up on the island after he was kicked off the bridge. He's started becoming a leader of the demons. Still wants to
Oh,
kill
and
Toemon.
he seems to have gone back through time as well.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
weird.
apparently. So what they say is the Bridge of Heaven is in this weird like mist that has no defined time or space. So when he falls through it, he just ends up warping through time and space and ends up on the island well before Sakuna by like several years. So he's grown in power and he's and so yeah, which it is definitely a weird thing, but yeah. Oh, I guess. Okay, sure. There's plenty of other fantasy elements going on, so why not? Um, and the one thing I think about Ishimaru is that I think he underlines one of the themes really well of the whole thing, which is about like hatred and forgiveness, right? Because much of Sakuna's growth because she's very bitter about everything at the beginning, right? She's always complaining and then hates to do all the work. And she's also got some resentment because her parents disappeared basically. But seeing, like Ishimaru, sort of an embodiment of hatred, just because he had an unfortunate life too, but he decided to be angry about it. Like she ends up overcoming him basically. No, not just her. Basically everyone kind of forgives him. Taoimon forgives him. Aimaru forgives him. A bunny forgives him.
Oh, the bunny.
Yeah. So there's this little. So the demons on the island generally are animal-ish in appearance. Uh, and at one point, a wounded one ends up in the farm where they're all living and whatnot, right? And so everyone convinces Sakuna to let it stay so they can take care of it. Um, but the bunny eventually betrays them and is working for Ishimaru to lead the demons there. But Ishimaru ends up wounding the demon anyways, and Sakuna finds the wounded demon bunny again. Um, but Kaimaru convinces her to forgive it. Basically, she learns to let go of the hatred, and because of that, and eating some of Sakuna's special rice, it becomes a regular bunny. Which is, this nice touching scene. And then like immediately after Ishimaru shows up and just punts the bunny with his sword. Um and so but later on, after the confrontation with Sakuna, Taoimon brings the bunny to, and the bunny's forgiven him, and then ends up defeating Ishimaru more or less. Um so we've got all that going on. And then because of all
So,
that, yeah,
regarding the demon turning back into the actual bunny, does that? I don't know if we get an explanation for this, but does that imply that the demons are made from animals on the island?
I yeah, I think that is the implication. Um, I don't think it's ever explicitly addressed, but I do
Yeah,
think that's the implication because I mean, first of all, there's a lot of skeletal enemies. We didn't really talk about them, but there's these creatures called the Ashigumo. They're like water weasel people. And they lived on the island, but they all died. But they kind of become skeleton demons because of hatred and anger and resentment. And I think that's more or less what's corrupting the animals, right? Because they eat the animals, Sakuna and friends. Like she'll go hunting and kill a boar demon and they'll eat the meat. Um, so it's not like it's some crazy, different animal because they're eating it just like regular pork. So I think that is the implication that all the demons are corruptions. And because they're not like they're all pretty common animals on you'd expect on an island, right? You get boars, bunnies, birds, so on and so forth. Um, so yeah, I think that is in fact the implication.
so it's Sonic basically.
I guess sure you want.
I guess Sonic one's a robotic, I guess, but still,
Yeah, but yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, it's very similar.
everything's Sonic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything is Sonic. Um, so so yeah, we got that, and then after all that, things start getting rough on the island. We get a volcano eruption, and they kind of have to restart everything, restart the farm. And Sakuna starts getting the resolve to defeat. What's his name? Omizuchi, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
The basically the boss demon who fought her parents previously and is the source of all the troubles on the island. Um and so to do that she starts preparing, and then we get to episode, gosh, what is it? Episode 12, which is that one almost got me because so as part of the preparations, Sakuna has to. So Tama is not just her little servant; he's also actually the spirit of a sword. Um, the blade of Hoshimida, I think, Hoshidama. I
Hoshidama.
forget the exact. Yeah, Hoshidama, which is her father's sword that he previously used to defeat Ozimuchi. And so Sakuna has to use the same sword, but that'll end up sacrificing Tama, right? And so episode 11 is this whole really touching episode where she basically gives him like one last day after she accepts that she needs to use him. Like one last day to do whatever he wants, and so on and so forth. And it's just really touching. I don't know about you, but that episode got to me. Like knowing you have to say goodbye to your closest, dearest friend. Oof, that got me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Although it doesn't end up mattering in the end.
well, you're right. Okay, okay. You know what? That's fair.
Sorry.
That's super fair.
Sorry.
That's super fair.
I guess that's like it is a pretty standard anime trope, right? Of like, oh, there's a
Yeah,
sacrifice that needs to happen, but it turns out a day later the sacrifice doesn't matter. We can have our win, and also the person who we sacrificed is now back.
yeah, because so the last episode is the confrontation with Ozimuchi. She gets a final gift from all her friends. Sakuna gets a final gift from all her friends, and goes off to fight the demon. And we have a really cool fight as she does so. Um, and then after she defeats it, she starts to fall into some void. I don't know really why. Oh wait, no, I do know why. It's basically the price. So one of the item she has from her mother is called the Divine Raiment. It's this magical scarf that she can use to fly around and beat things up. Um, and that scarf was given to her mother by the aliens that also turned Yui into a crane. And the price for that was basically like a sacrifice in the end. And so she's floating in this void. Sakuna after the victory because she's going to pay the price for the scarf. But the spirit of her parents show up because they'd kind of been holding back Ozimuchi. They'd been there the whole time. Um, and so Sakuna gets to see her parents again, but then they volunteer as the sacrifices. So she and Tama, who is turned back into Tama, don't have to go away, and so they just poof back on the island and are totally fine. You're right. Everyone's fine and happy, and that's pretty much the end of the anime. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Anything else I missed, or any other points?
yeah. I guess we've flushed over a little bit about kind of like the stuff around the politics of the gods area. What I can't remember what it's called. The capital.
Yeah,
They don't talk about it a huge amount, but there is obviously some stuff around that, and like I quite liked when they came to the near the end and they had their little marketplace.
yeah, that little festival. Yeah,
Yeah, and a bunch of people from the capital came, and that was pretty cool. I liked that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's so we didn't talk about her at all, but the chief goddess or whatever her name's Lady Katsukitsu or something like that. I forget the exact pronunciation. Um,
there are
and
so many people
she
in this anime. I keep forgetting most of their
they're a
names.
good number, but yeah, it's wild because she just has kind of complete control over everything and decides everyone's like fates, basically, right? Like that's
Yeah,
why Sakuna ends up on an island. I I'm so upset that she basically ignores Kokoroa or until Sakuna leaves, basically, because Crocodile is doing great work. Yeah, so yeah, it is the whole setup of their system in the Lofty Realm is pretty wild. It's funny. I remember the funny bit where Sakuna has to sneak back on the island on the capital to find out about the evil rice or whatever, and she basically just knocks out a few gods who identify her.
oh yeah.
Um,
Oh, that
yeah,
reminds me. The name of that episode with the evil race.
yeah.
I completely misread it. The name of the episode is A Rice Riot Shakes the Capital, and I misread it as a race
That's
riot.
I mean, that I think that's what they were going for.
I was
I
like,
would
oh
imagine.
no. Not racism amongst the gods.
I'd be down for that. Um, yeah, but I'm
But that
sure.
that 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 doesn't. So I've rewatched the scene around the
Yeah.
crane, right? So there's two
Yes.
things to point out. So you're
Yeah.
right. He doesn't hear the aliens talk. So he doesn't
Yes.
technically hear the story about how she started off as a crane.
Yes.
However, he definitely knows she was turned into the crane, right? He also he it's really weird. He seems to really like her because she's like really fair, right? He talks about her crane white skin,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
So
he talks about the fact that the
look.
crane that he saved when
Hmm.
he was younger,
Yeah.
um, and like I think if he hasn't put two and two together, he's very dumb.
Which is very possible.
It is very possible he's not a very smart guy,
Yep.
but like I just can't
He's
imagine also Sakuna not then telling him what she heard, right? Because he knows that she's heard something because she
yeah.
talks and he's like, "Who are you
Well, she
talking
has to
to?"
keep she has to keep it secret still though.
Does she? I missed that bit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's still part of the deal. Like she has to keep it secret. But like it could go either way. Like yeah, she might be stupid and doesn't miss it. Like I will say in the game, so I missed this whole bit in the game, but I did look it up on YouTube because I was very curious. In the game, basically, it's more evident that he doesn't realize it's her. Um, like I forget the exact framing or whatever, but I think it's very clear he doesn't realize it's her. Um, actually, it's so much to the point that the the so in the story in the anime, Kinta frees the crane because he just feels bad for it, basically. In the game, after the whole transformation back into Yui, he tells Sakuna that yeah, he freed that crane because he wanted to eat it, but it got away before he could tie it down.
I
And
think
so
whether
Sakuna's like,
whether or not
never tell her that ever.
whether or not he knows that
Yeah,
she was a crane first,
yeah,
she still was a crane first.
yeah.
And Sakuna says, "Oh, it's true love," at the end.
Look,
It's
okay.
just all very weird.
I again, all this like okay, the more practical reason. It's all based off the again Japanese folklore and mythology, and in more in universe. It's a weird world, right? Like Sakuna, especially, like she's used to weird nonsense. The lofty capital realm is weird. She hangs out with a talking dog who's a sword. Like it's fine. Um, so one thing about the ending I want to mention is that we don't actually get some of the follow through that because it's a very similar sequence in the game, but the game actually talks about what happens to all the characters after they're like in the future. So one weird thing because they're all living in this island in the lofty realm or whatever, they start gaining divine powers and kind of becoming gods, which is okay. Um, that doesn't come into play late into the game, but basically, I think Toemon um, and Yui stay on the like in the lofty realm and become gods. Mirta and Kinta go back to the lowly realm to Kinta just to keep learning how to blacksmith and stuff. Mirta to continue her missionary work. I don't remember what happens to Kaima. I'll be honest. Probably, I don't know. He's still baby. Wait, the ending. We finally get to talk. I don't know why, but so because of the divine powers, I guess, as Sakuna's floating in the void, Kaimaru's spirit shows up because he was looking for her apparently, and he could somehow navigate here. And he finally gets to speak a little and convinces her to go back. Which is okay. Definitely a little unexpected. But there you go. Kaimaru got to speak at least a little bit. Um,
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they were doing the less kind of wrapped things up so they could do a second season if they wanted to.
yeah, that's one of the big questions, right? Because there is the novel. In fact, in the game, they reference the premise of the novel, which is involves Kokoroa and another goddess in the capital, apparently. And so it would be interesting to see if they turn that into the anime because it hasn't even been turned into a game or anything. So um, I'd be down for that. I love Kokonoha, so I'd be happy for a second season focused on her and that whole story. Um, but yeah, no, yeah, I mean, overall, I'm just happy we got Sakuna the anime. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, which
No, I think it
yeah,
was. I think it was super fun.
yep,
I'm really glad we got it because I actually managed to
enjoy
enjoy the
Sakuna
story.
without having to play Sakuna.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's not. I'm not saying it was a bad game. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
no,
wasn't my kind of game.
no, and like I said, I think it's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow because the farming is like it's a lot of work because it's
Yeah,
not like Stardew. You're not growing crops or just water, plant and water, right? You have to like maintain them. They go over all the steps in the anime, like and all the work that they're doing in the anime, you actually have to do yourself in the game. You have to
yeah,
manage the water level, you have to manage bugs, temperature, so on and so forth. And so it's a whole lot of work. And then again, even if you're into that, then you still have to be good at combat because you have to do platforming and fight bosses and so on and so forth, right?
yeah,
And like I think the systems are done very well, but that's two very different things that somebody has to enjoy and be able to go through to get through the story. So yeah, I don't blame you at all or anyone else that can't quite latch onto Sakuna. But if they can't, you have the anime now, which is just wonderful. The animation's fantastic. The dialogue's great. The voice, I forgot to check. I don't know if the voices are from the games. I will say that the English dub, the game voices match very closely to the voices in Japanese in the anime. Which is pretty impressive. So I'm guessing these are the voices from the game as well. But yeah, I hope we get a second series. I hope we get this dub because obviously, more people will watch it. Um, so yeah, here's hoping for more Sakuna.
yeah. Sorry, I'm just having
Yeah.
a look at the voice actors.
Yeah, I'm curious now too. I have to see the anime. Yeah.
It does not look like it's the same voice actors.
Really? Huh. Hmm.
Oh,
That's
some of them might
interesting.
be. So it looks like Tama is the same. Sakuna is not. Oh wait. Oh wait, no, I misread. No, they are the same.
Oh,
Yeah, they
okay.
are the
Oh,
same.
there you go.
They are the
Okay.
same actors,
I like
voice
I said,
actors.
I would guess so because the English voices I think match the dub voices match pretty well, like their tone and inflection.
Yeah,
Um, and so if we get the dubbed, hopefully they'll use the same game cast as well.
yeah,
Um,
that'd be cool.
yeah, but that's awesome. Man, I love Sakuna so much. Like just watching this movie, it's like, man, do I want to replay Sakuna? Maybe. I don't know. I really like Sakuna. Oh,
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me to talk about this. I
my
enjoyed it
pleasure.
watching
Thank
it.
you, Al, for having me rant on about Sakuna. Always happy to do that. Remember, Sakuna was here before Wildflowers. Let people not forget.
Where can people find you on the internet?
Find me at Koopa Prez if you want to see me mostly retweeting other people's funnier memes. Find me at Spider Squared, where hey, I have actually kept up with my art stuff. Trying to be consistent. I'm doing the September, October, whatever challenge, doing something every day. It's monster making. Watch me make my fake Pokemon. Also check out Rainbow Road Radio. Again, we'll be playing Luigi's Mansion 2. That'll be coming up. Or you can check out the last episode which was an installment of Vox Coopus. And for folks who don't know, it's basically me going through the ringer and being forced to voice act in different characters. So if you liked my Western drawl from last episode, check this out. What about you, Al? Where do people find you?
You can find me on mastodon.scot as the Scottbot. You can find the podcast on Tumblr at thspod. You can send us feedback or anything you want from our website, harvestseason.club, where you can also find links to everything to do with the podcast, including a link to our Patreon, patreon.com/thspod, where you can support the podcast, get access to our Slack, where we talk about all manner of weird things, and also get access to our backlog of bonus episodes, more coming soon.
There you go. All
I
right.
think that's everything. Thank you, Kevin, again for joining me.
Thank you, Al, for having me on.
Thank you, listeners, for listening, and until next time. Have a
Have a good
good
harvest.
harvest. The harvest season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers Kevin, Stuart, and Elisa. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode. Of rice.
There you go. And ruin for enemies, I guess.
They do have the ruin as well, the burning down of the rice fields. That was such a sad moment.
That was a really sad moment. Don't have sad moments. Have the ruin the other people's life that makes you happy. Go defeat Japanese demons. That'll make you happy. All right, take care.